talking about some different news stories. I know you cover a lot of stuff, so maybe I'm being redundant with some content you've already covered, and I apologize for that. But
No
you know,
problem.
you just try to come up with something. So let's talk about one's kind of pet peeve. I'm a comic book nerd,
Mm-hmm.
definitely a movie and comic book nerd. I had a friend. This is literally 88 to 89. So that's when I transitioned into collecting seriously. So I'd say 89 to 90. And he was into The Crow. And at this point, we were just like, what? What's the Crow? And back then, you couldn't just get comic books anywhere. Like there might be one shop that have it, the other shop wouldn't have it. And you try to
Right.
order it or you try to pick it up. And so the Crow was actually very obscure. He actually had, the Caliber Presents first appearance of Crow, which I eventually bought off of him and then sadly have parted ways with now because I sure wish I had that thing back.
Oh
Well, we're
yeah.
going to reboot this franchise. We're going to reboot this again, allegedly. Now, I will say, for someone who's also written for pop culture and done different things, they've been trying to redo The Crow for so long. The names attached, it's just absurd. Like even Mark Wahlberg was attached to this at some point. It's so absurd to think about the names and people. I mean, there's just so many. And here, okay, first off, let me just say, uh, Hollywood Reporter, or if you get your news from a website that's covering a Crow movie reboot, and this is how the article is sort of presented to you. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Do 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 do. Um, they're doing something wrong because you see a picture of the Crow. This is a story about the Crow, and I know this
Mm-hmm.
is an actress that's in the Crow. There's nothing about this story, so you're doing something wrong. And if you see that site is so manipulative and biased, okay, they're not covering stuff properly for you. But we're really going to try the Crow with Rupert Sanders, and he's hired Bill Skarsgård to play. He's Pennywise the clown. He's going to play the title character, and he's got I guess that's Twigs. I guess FKA Twigs. He's a British singer and dancer. Sure, don't know. Couldn't have picked her out of a lineup before this article, and that's going to be the love interest. And they're going to be shooting relatively soon, and that's about all we know. And the disturbing part was they wrote the role was not significant in the original movie, but sources say that in the reimagining, the part has been reconceived into a co-lead. And I'm like, oh, there we go. Now we're back on message. We're back on message because it's not going to necessarily be entirely about the Crow. She's going to be just as significant, possibly. I was like, oh no. So sadly, we couldn't get the Crow off the ground, but now this is how we're going to get it off the ground, Cap. Does this remotely interest you when you read the details like that?
No.
Yeah,
No.
I'm
It
like,
doesn't.
it, what on earth are they? I mean, I'm again, I cling to the hope that money matters more. And I read this, I think to myself, you guys are out of your flipping minds. I'm supposed to go see a Crow movie because you're propping up a girl named Twigs. And I don't look at a picture of Brandon Lee in the makeup. I don't look at a picture from James Obar's really cool character that he created. Nope. Twigs, who's, I don't know, I didn't see any significant acting cred that she's got to her resume. Bill Skarsgård's been good. Did you like Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise? Did you see that It movie?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh
That's
man,
one on my list.
I don't know. I should derail the conversation into my fear of clowns and seeing the It movie. It's really, I'm a disturbed individual. I was scarred during Poltergeist, and I have a dreadful uncomfortableness. I wouldn't say fear. My wife will say fear to tease me. I wouldn't see
Hmm.
these movies, and then on a bet, my youngest daughter, we were there to see Adam's Family, the cartoon or whatever. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. She saw the poster, and she's like, oh my god, it's scary. I jokingly said, oh well, I'll go see it if you want to go see it. She said, okay. And I said, well, we'll have to watch the other one so you can know what it's about. I'm like, oh my god, what have I got myself into? He's really pretty good as Pennywise. And it's it's okay, it's fine. But Bill Skarsgård's the problem. He seems like he would make a decent Crow because these guys they beef up, they pump up, they get muscular enough to be a superhero character. I think Bill would put in the work. I'm not worried about that part, but oh man, don't you just love The Crow though? Well, that was such a great movie, wasn't it? The original Crow?
Yes.
Yeah, it was so good. Such a tragedy to lose Brandon Lee and be robbed of more material, but man, it was so good. And the fact that we just still piddling around with, I couldn't even make it through the sequels. I actually was trying to rewatch them, streaming them again or whatever. I don't know if that's a year ago or whenever it was. And I got into like maybe 20 or 30 minutes into the second one. I'm like, I'm done. It's just terrible. It's just so bad.
Yeah. Right?